Hello and welcome to this edition of The Hill with April Ryan. We have some important information on this edition, so let's get right to it. Afro-Cuban Enrique Tarrio, the leader of the Proud Boys, the white supremacist group leading the charge at the January 6th insurrection, has been sentenced to 22 years behind bars. That's the longest sentence handed down to anyone associated with the uprising meant to keep Donald John Trump in office. The White House announced this week that First Lady Jill Biden tested positive for COVID. The president tested negative. The First Lady is part of a recent rise in COVID cases across the country, part of a surge of cases that began in July. Dr. Melissa Clark, the co-founder of the Black Coalition Against COVID, says the impact of COVID on the Black community is felt most during a surge.
Black people are still getting hospitalized more than whites. So at some points during the pandemic, that's not true. Whites were getting hospitalized more, but during surges, people of color, specifically Black people, are getting hospitalized more. So it's not over. We still have to be vigilant, especially if we're in a high-risk group.
I also talked with Dr. Anthony Fauci. We talked about the next round of COVID vaccines that are expected soon, and then on a yearly cycle in the fall months.
Even though we're seeing an uptick, it is unlikely that we are going to see that kind of tsunami of cases and hospitalizations and deaths that we've seen.
I also had a chance to talk to Dr. Fauci about whether it's time for us to all mask up again.
As the cases go up, particularly if you are a vulnerable person by age or underlying condition, or you have a family member in close contact with you who is vulnerable, you should consider. We're not talking about mandating anything, because that's not what we're talking about. You should consider, if the CDC begins to recommend in certain regions that masks be worn, you might want to take that recommendation if in fact you are among those who are at a higher risk that if you do get infected, you might have a serious outcome.
Fauci and much of the nation are wondering about the timing of the next round of COVID vaccines that are expected very soon. He says the COVID vaccine will be part of a yearly cycle in the fall months. He also says, as we wait for the latest version of the COVID vaccine, we should plan on COVID boosters being a part of a yearly cycle, much like flu shots. Melanie Campbell of the Coalition of Black Civic Participation plans a month-long tour of door-to-door engagement with Floridians and the aftermath of the racial tensions there, from banning books to cutting AP African American Studies to changing the facts of slavery.
We are going to be doing a Power of the Ballot tour. We've set up a different type of entity for our organization called Power of the Ballot Action Fund. And so that's the hat I'll be wearing when I go to Florida, along with not just national organizations, but there's organizing going on across the state. So we'll be working with a lot of young new activists who want to have support in Florida. So we're going to be down there for the month of October as a launching of our 2024 campaign. We believe the 2024 campaign is now, and we're going to start in Florida and spend some time there.
Campbell was part of the group of civil rights leaders who met with President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. John C. Yang of Asian Americans Advancing Justice was also at the meeting with President Joe Biden. He explains why the civil rights leaders are planning to move their United We Stand anti-hate summit held at the White House last year to Jacksonville, Florida, in the wake of the deadly shooting there in August.
Jacksonville is a place of hate right now. It's like Charlottesville was a noun, but the action of hate, the action of killing. Now Jacksonville is the action of hate. But is it just Jacksonville or the broader Florida that's in?
Precisely. That is what makes it resonate so much, because it's not just that it happened in Jacksonville. It is because of all of the racist policies that we have seen in Jacksonville. And it's not just racist, it's anti-LGBTQ, it's anti-women. You know, we have, for the Asian American community, there's these alien land laws that have been passed. So there's a whole series of policy issues that have targeted all of our communities that made it make so much sense.
Organizers have not set a date yet for the Anti-Hate Summit. Well, that's it for this edition of The Hill with April Ryan. Thank you for watching. See you next week for more of The Hill with April Ryan. Take care and peace.